All right, we have terrible light in this room. I'm going to try to wrap this up, so you probably don't care about the lighting. So I think where we left off was talking about what did we leave off talking about? I don't know. What we're going to talk about now is sort of the next section. We talked about HIV. We talked about some of the chronic stress that comes along with cardiovascular disease and cancer. So chronic pain is another one that is very closely linked to stressors. The two types of pain, acute pain and chronic pain. You hurt yourself, jam your hand in a car door, or, you get hit by a baseball or what have you. It's acute pain. It follows an injury and then it goes away on its own. Chronic pain may start the same way, but it doesn't go away by itself. It becomes this thing that lingers on. A lot of people experience it with back pain, joint pain, arthritis, or sciatica, things like that. But this is chronic pain that tends to stick around for a long time, and it tends to be pretty debilitating, and carries a lot of psychological weight with it. So it becomes very stressful in and of itself because many people struggle with controlling the pain. Do you take medications for it? Do you have to go to massage therapy? Do you have to do like acupuncture? And this can be very stressful and can go on for an indefinite period of time. So think back to what we were talking about in the last few videos about pain being uncontrollable or unpredictable. And that's often what chronic pain is. We struggle with that not being able to be predictable and controllable, and that makes it more difficult to cope with on a day-to-day basis. Um, and again, the psychological component, the lack of perceived control of the pain, and also just poor coping skills, and often not a lot of support go into that too, not having good social support. Also, social reinforcement for pain can be part of what plays a role here. Some people find that pain brings them attention or sympathy, or people will notice them. So it can reinforce the expression of pain and sort of create its own psychological pressure there. So it's very complicated, and it is a problem that's just very difficult to deal with long term, and people struggle with, and it's very closely linked to chronic stress. Chronic fatigue syndrome is another of those. It's just what it sounds like. People who are generally tired all the time, lack energy, a lot of fatigue, pain, chronic pain, most commonly in females and most commonly in Western cultures. So it is something that tends to pop up in more industrial places like the United States, Great Britain. You're not going to see this in third world countries or other places. And it is interesting to see the cultural dynamic there. People who have chronic fatigue syndrome tend to be high achievement oriented. They want to accomplish a lot. They have a lot of drive. They have fast paced lifestyles. Those type A personalities. So already there's a lot of stress in their lives because they have this high drive to achieve, the need to accomplish a lot of things and to do a lot of things to feel successful. And so this syndrome sort of results from that. And you have this psychological misinterpretation of the consequences of illness. Like an illness might hold me back or keep me down from achieving what it is that I need to achieve. And you can see some of these core beliefs. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's pretty small. But we talked a little bit about this last week. We were talking about the David Byrne stuff and looking at thoughts, maladaptive thoughts. So some of the beliefs on a person with chronic fatigue syndrome is going to be something like I'm inadequate. And musts are really important here. These definitive things. I must always perform perfectly. I must always be able to cope. I must never show weakness. And their lifestyle tends to be achievement oriented. Put on a brave face, pull yourself up, toughen up. And the triggers are often stress and acute illness. And then that leads to symptoms like fatigue and muscle pain. Some of the other symptoms listed there. And then these thoughts, I have to be physically ill. I'm making myself worse, and there's nothing I can do about it. I should try harder. I'm doing a bad job by being sick. Because I'm sick, there's something wrong with me. They tend to get distressed, frustrated, and that leads to avoidance of those activities because you don't ever want to feel bad about yourself. May lead them to seek medical care, and all the while keeping that brave face and not really showing, so they're internalizing all of that stress, which just creates more stress and creates more symptoms because they're locking it in, they're not expressing those symptoms, and that really has a long-term toll and a negative impact on your health. So you can see how that kind of snowballs out of control. And medications tend to not be very effective because a lot of times it's the cognitive symptoms, the thought distortions that really need to be targeted. So cognitive behavioral therapy is key here. But medications don't work because the anxieties from your thought patterns, which medications can't really help. Some of the treatments for some of these disorders that we've been talking about, and some of the chronic stress, things like biofeedback, learning to control your bodily responses, learning to control your breathing, controlled breathing or deep breathing, meditation techniques, things to slow down your mind and slow down your physiological response are really the way to go here. So biofeedback is a process by learning to control your body's responses, and it's often used with chronic headaches and hypertension. Also, the relaxation and meditation, which I've mentioned several times, but progressive muscle relaxation is very good. Meditation is good for coping with chronic stress, and I'm going to put up a couple of videos of meditation so you all can see some of the different types. I'll put up some shorter ones. Also, things like this, the daily stress record with recording when your stressors are occurring and seeing if you can identify the triggers and some of the symptoms, and then those maladaptive thoughts that are coming with the stressors. So, in this example, at 10 a.m. had a sales meeting. I was sweating and had a headache, and the thoughts were my sales figures are bad. So the sales meeting sort of triggers this negative thought about yourself that my sales are bad, and it creates these physiological responses. So that was a pretty strong stress level. So tracking that, looking at when you're having stress, the types of problems it's causing, and most importantly, the thoughts that are associated with that can be very effective in dealing with this stuff long term. And some of these stress reduction techniques, pain management programs are also very effective in combining things like meditation and relaxation, coping skills with some of the long-term managing of chronic pain can be very effective. Right, so you probably can't tell there was like a brief pause there. But in any case, also we have like just lifestyle practices that can be used to improve your cognitive health, your stress levels. Just we talked about lifestyle factors, risk factors, engaging in risky behaviors being something that contributes to stress. So practices that look at addressing those. If you have a problem with, substance use, trying to engage in some help or treatment to deal with those types of patterns of behavior will also help reduce your stress levels. If you're engaging in, like reckless spending and you're stressed out about your finances, working on budgeting or something like that may also address your overall stress level. So targeting some of those specific risk behaviors and trying to intervene in that approach. So a very practical, pragmatic approach to dealing with the particular stressors. What we see are that so some of these behaviors, like actually getting hurt or being injured, are not enough. Warning people about their behavior is not enough to really impact any sort of effective change. You can tell a person who's alcoholic all day long, you need to stop drinking because you're an alcoholic, until something specific enough happens to trigger them, you're not going to affect any change. The same thing with, HIV prevention. Just telling people that engaging in risky behavior can lead to AIDS is not going to get there. So you have to try more than one time. It's a repetitive type of thing. You have to engage in this education, this ongoing sort of onslaught of, think about, some of you may not remember, but the time when we had AIDS education, it was everywhere. Conversations were on, sort of every news channel that you're on. So like what we're doing now with COVID, it's everywhere. We're surrounded by it. And so, like, the prevention steps have to become more than just a conversation or warning people about their behavior. You have to get to people in a way that's actually going to promote some change. And, with some of the lifestyles, diet and exercise, promoting just general health and wellness goes a long way. And that does help to reduce some of those stressors. Let's skip some of that. See if there's anything else I want to talk about. So just to sum it up, psychological factors do play a huge role in physiological disorders or physical disorders. So stress can make you sick. And keep that in mind. If you don't remember anything else, stress can kill you. It can make you sick. It can reduce your overall immune function, and it can make you more susceptible to other diseases. So control the stress. Use things that are very basic, whatever it is that helps calm your stress, but look at it as to whether or not as a positive coping mechanism. You don't want to drink alcohol to deal with stress because that creates its own problems. You don't want to smoke cigarettes to deal with stress because of the problems that creates. What you want to do is find positive ways to deal with it, like meditation, deep breathing, just basic coping with stress, seeing a therapist, talking with friends, doing things that engage in a positive way to help reduce your overall stress level, building social support. That's what we're going for here. But stress can be deadly. Stress can kill you. So you have to stay ahead of it and be aware of it. Use whatever resources we have to help us cope with that. And again, I'm going to post a couple of videos that you all might be interested in on some different techniques for doing that. But all right, until next time, there will not be a part 5. I will see you all next time.